welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy, sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things, and today I am giving you my very first TBR of 2024, the January 2024 TBR. This TBR is full of a lot of books. I didn't realize how many books there were until I was gathering the images that I will use to put here for the books that I don't physically own, and combined with the books I do physically own, it's a little, I think, over 20 books, which normally, I normally plan between like 15 and 20 books, but I think it's just been a while that I actually planned a full 20, if not more, so a bit interesting, but nevertheless, let's go ahead and get into those books. I'm going to split this up into sections based on the books that I will be reading. Also, if you see me looking behind you guys, that is where my notes are for all of this, so I'm not being weird about the camera. Yeah, let's get this on the show on the road. So first up, I'm going to talk about series continuations and rereads, because some of them are rereads because I am continuing a series, and some of them are just straight up rereads because I want to read things that I read as a child or whatever. So first up, we have The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart, and also The Bone Shard Emperor and The Bone Shard War. I will be rereading the first two and then reading for the first time The Bone Shard War. This is a I want to say a high fantasy political fantasy, but I've enjoyed it a lot. Which is unusual considering how much I generally don't enjoy political fantasy, but this one I think is really consumable and enjoyable. Lynn is the Emperor's daughter, and her father didn't recognize her as the heir to the throne, and she wanted to prove herself, and there's several different points of view and several different subplots going on that all kind of tie into this whole ordeal. The Emperor is dying in the first book. His mastery of the Bone Shard magic is failing, and people are revolting, which, as you do when there's an emperor that has been around for a long time, obviously people will eventually become unhappy and revolt. So it's sort of just this drawn out trilogy. I hope it's a trilogy, because finding out that the Brandon Sanderson books that I'm reading are not a trilogy was a bit frustrating. So on to those books specifically. I will be rereading the Skyward, Starsight, and Psionic books. These books are about Spensa and the planet that they live on, and wanting to be essentially a pilot and work on this team of pilots or whatever and get into the army, but she's poor and not like your ideal candidate, especially because her father is considered a traitor. He's dead, and he's considered a traitor. I have read all of the books, and then the short stories that are a part of the books. They are hefty, and I enjoyed them when I read them initially. I don't know if I'm going to still enjoy them though, so that'll be really interesting, because I have grown out of YA quite a bit. And so I wonder if I will still enjoy these books to the extent that I enjoyed them the first time that I read them. So, like I said, I'm going to be rereading these. I might reread the short stories because they tie in to the whole story, but yeah, I'm going to be rereading these and then reading Defiant, the fourth book in this set that has just come out. I'm going to be honest, I don't really remember how Psionic even ended, so maybe it was supposed to have another book. I don't remember. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute. That's fine. Next up, we have Garlic and the Witch by Bree Paulson. This is a cute little graphic novel about a little sentient garlic bulb, and this time Garlic has been working with Witch Agnes, Carrot, and their friend Count, who was a scary vampire, but he's actually not that scary. Agnes is trying to get a vegetarian homebrew for Count so that he doesn't have to have real blood, and Garlic is being sent to the magic market to go find the ingredient that's missing, but Garlic starts to turn human. So I think that'll be really interesting and a fun kind of breakup from some of the much more serious books that I have on my TBR this month. I think that it'll be a good break in the in the seriousness. Next, we have The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. If you don't know, I read this book every single year, actually, at least once a year, and I have this special edition from Barnes & Noble. I've had it for a good while. Do I have it stamped? Because that would tell me when I got it. I got it before I even got married. I do also have the original paperback that I basically destroyed. I have that one as well. It's just in a different room. And this is also the collected poems, which I didn't read initially the last time I read this version of the book, so I think that this year I will also be reading the collected poems. But The Bell Jar is a book that meant a lot to me, and it is a really depressing book, and I have a quote from it literally tattooed on me. But it is about Sylvia Plath's self-insert character, and as she goes through, you know, being essentially a child prodigy and then realizing that, like, life isn't everything that it's been made out to be, and then just falling into this deep state of depression, and then getting out of that deep state of depression and realizing that, like, maybe life is worth living. So crazy for her to have ended that like that, and it to be published after her suicide. Anyway, sus. If you don't remember from when I was reading the Sylvia Plath letters, I have adored Sylvia Plath in that very, like, standard white girl way for a really long time. So I have a lot of thoughts on The Bell Jar, but anyway, moving on. And the next reread is going to be Dragon Song by Anne McCaffrey. This is the first book in the Harper Hall trilogy, and it follows Menely, who manages to make music with the flying fire lizards, which they're like tiny dragons. Think of them as like teeny tiny dragons. Nobody believes in her being able to be as incredible and amazing as she is, and she is amazing. And she trains 9 of these little fire lizards, and they change the world, and it's great. And I read them as a kid, and I read them as an adult, and I have the fire lizards literally tattooed on me. So obviously I feel really strongly about the Harper Hall trilogy. I mean, I love the Dragon Riders of Pern, period, but the Harper Hall trilogy specifically is the one that, like, is from my childhood and is of the most importance to me, if that makes sense. Next up, we have a reread that I definitely read it as a child. I definitely have very little memory of it. I remember picking it up out of the library in the children's section in Rome, Georgia 100 years ago, and the Rome library was like the biggest library I had ever been in at that time. It would be interesting for me to go back and look at that library now and see what the difference is. But it was the coolest because the children's section literally had its own, like, room, which, like, closed off, like the door was closed off, like it was its own separate almost building, which I thought was the coolest. So I don't remember the story of this book, but I will be reading it because I have fond memories of picking it out. That is The Amulet of Samarkand by Jonathan Stroud. Nathaniel is a boy magician in training, sold to the government by his birth parents at the age of 5 and sent to live as an apprentice to a master. Powerful magicians rule Britain and its empire, and Nathaniel is told that he is the ultimate sacrifice for a noble destiny. If leaving his parents and erasing his past life isn't tough enough, Nathaniel's master, Arthur Underwood, is cold, condescending, and cruel middle-ranking magician in the Ministry of Internal Affairs. The boy's only saving grace is that the master's wife, Martha Underwood, Carrie Underwood, who shows him genuine affection that he rewards with fierce devotion. Nathaniel gets along tolerably well over the years in the Underwood household until the summer before his 11th birthday. Everything changes when he's publicly humiliated by ruthless magician Simon Lovelace and betrayed by his cowardly master, who does not defend him. Nathaniel vows revenge in Faustian fever. He devours magical texts and hones his magical skills, all while trying to appear subservient to his master. When he musters the strength to summon the 5,000-year-old genie Bartimaeus to avenge Lovelace by stealing the powerful amulet of Samarkand, the boy magician plunges into a situation much more dangerous and deadly than anything he could ever imagine. I just, like, distinctly remember, like, the demon summoning. What's funny about this also is I gave Art the bare minimum of descriptors of this book to help me find it like 2 years ago, and then never read it. Like, I just wanted to confirm that the book exists, and the bare minimum was like, weak witch boy summons demon, ? That's all I got. Like, that is a useless descriptive. But I did it, and Art was able to find it because Art reads my mind, which is scary. Scary. Anyway, moving on to the next section, which is going to be nonfiction. We have Love Letters by Vita Sackville-West and Virginia Woolf. These are the collected love letters between the two writers throughout time. I've read quotes from these letters, and I think they are beautiful and wonderful representations of romance, especially sapphic romance, and so I'm excited to read through these. I do think that like old letters are a bit hard to work through, but because I read the Sylvia Plath letters, I think I'm like well equipped to read these letters, if that makes sense. They seem fun. And then we have Dirty Laundry by Richard Pink, which is a book about managing ADHD with simple tips and that sort of thing. My ADHD is pretty well managed, especially because I'm medicated, but I always think that it's helpful to constantly educate myself on these kinds of things. And also I want to try and read at least one nonfiction book a month to continue to grow and learn in my own education. We're gonna move on to what I like to call other, which is just like everything else that doesn't fit into these other categories. The first book we have is Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. This is a conversion camp horror. That's really all you need to know. This is a really specific subgenre of horror that I enjoy, which sounds fucked up. Yeah, that's... It seems... The description is really vague. Welcome to Neverton, Montana, home to a God-fearing community with a heart of gold. But one of the, like, phrases is they'll scare you straight to hell. Interesting. It looks really good, and it's had pretty solid reviews, so much to think about. Then we have Monstrilio by Gerard Samano Cordova. Grieving Mother Magos cuts out a piece of her deceased 11-year-old son Santiago's lung. Acting on fierce maternal instinct and the dubious logic of an old folk tale, she nurtures the lung until it gains sentience. Growing into the carnivorous little Monstrilio she keeps hidden, which is like little monster. She keeps hidden within the walls of her family's decaying Mexico City estate. Eventually, Monstrilio begins to resemble the Santiago he once was, but his innate impulses, though curbed by his biological and chosen family's communal care, threaten to destroy this family's fragile second chance at life. It seems fucked up in the best way. I think it'll be not fun. Fun is the wrong phrase since it's horror and grief, but little monsters. Children being monsters. I love books where children are monsters because children are like a little bit monstrous even without being monsters, right? Like children are just like little feral gremlins and I love them. I love that for them. I would love to still get to be a little feral gremlin. But alas, I'm an adult and I cannot. Anyway, moving on to the next book. The Weaver and the Witch King by Genevieve Kornicek. This is the person who wrote the book about Loki's wife. I don't remember what that book is called right now. Sorry, I read it like 2 years ago. And I really enjoyed that book, especially because you don't see a lot of those stories written. It's a lot of Greek tales and that kind of thing rewritten. And so I'm excited to get to reading this. Oddny and Gunhild meet as children in 10th century Norway, and they could not be more different. Oddny hopes for a quiet life, while Gunhild burns for power and longs to escape her cruel mother. But after visiting a wise woman who makes an ominous prophecy that involves Oddny, her sister Signy, and Gunhild, the three girls take a blood oath to help one another always. When Oddny's farm is destroyed and Signy is kidnapped by Viking raiders, Oddny is set adrift from the life she imagined, but she's determined to save her sister no matter the cost, even as she finds herself irresistibly drawn to one of the raiders who participated in the attack. And in the far north, Gunhild, who fled her home years ago to learn the ways of a witch, is surprised to find her destiny seems to be linked with that of the formidable King Eirik, heir apparent to the ruler of all Norway. I don't know why I'm tripping over words today. But the bonds, both enchanted and emotional, that hold the two women together are strong, and when they find their way back to each other, these bonds will be tested in ways they never could have foreseen in this deeply moving novel of magic, history, and sworn sisterhood. I don't want them to fall in love with anyone but each other. Thanks. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but... Then we have Win, Lose, Kill, Die by Cynthia Murphy, which has been on my TBR for like 3 years. and I just haven't read it. An explosive new YA thriller. The students at Morton Academy are high achievers, selected based on academic excellence. So when a series of murders target the school's brightest and the best, the pressure is on. Someone is determined to stop at nothing to clear their path to the top. But who is it, and can they be stopped? A high school slasher with a lethal twist. First off, it says perfect for fans of Karen McManus, Holly Jackson, and Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl? Tied in with thriller authors I enjoy? Alright. Okay. Again, it's been on my TBR for a really long time, and I wanna like get those that have been on my TBR for like a year or more. I wanna start narrowing those down and getting through those. That's been my like ongoing goal with Clear Your Shit, right? But I'm gonna continue it into the new year. Next, we have The Last Invitation by Darby Kane. They meet the second Tuesday of every month and vote, and then someone dies. Over the last few years, prominent people, a retired diplomat, beloved basketball coach, yada yada yada, have died in a series of fluke accidents and shocking suicides. There's no apparent connection, no signs of foul play. Behind it all is a powerful group of women, the Sophie Foundation, who meet over wine and cheese to review the files of men who behave very badly, and then they mete out the justice. I support women's wrongs. Thank you. I think that's it. That's all that matters. Jessa has been trying to get an invitation to this club. She recognizes that it's very dangerous. Don't know how you would have thought it wouldn't be dangerous. But anyway, once you're in the group, you can't leave, even though she wants to leave. And it's kind of her trying to survive, right? Girl, make smarter choices. You joined that on purpose. Anyway. And lastly, on my January TBR, which, in a surprising twist to no one, I'm starting another Shauna McGuire series. Because I have finished all of the currently out, as of filming this on December 6th, because I have finished all of the currently out October Day books, I want to read more Shauna McGuire, obviously. I also am debating rereading October Day, but that's a whole other conversation. I'm going to be reading Discount Armageddon by Shauna McGuire. The Price family has spent generations studying the monsters of the world, working to protect them from humanity and humanity from them. Enter Verity Price. Despite being trained from birth as a cryptozoologist, she'd rather dance a tango than tangle with a demon, and is spending a year in Manhattan while she pursues a career in professional ballroom dance. Sounds pretty simple, right? Also, I love that this book is set in New York, while all of the rest of them have been like in California or near California. It would be, if it weren't for the talking mice, the telepathic mathematicians, the asbestos supermodels, and the trained monster hunters sent by the Price family's old enemies, the Covenant of St. George. When a Price girl meets a Covenant boy, high stakes, high heels, and a lot of collateral damage are almost guaranteed. It just seems fun. And also, it is a long series, and I kind of want to read another long series throughout the year. You know, I think it would be a fun time. So that's my January TBR. It is a long one. I recognize that. Have I overextended myself? Will I be overextending myself? Maybe. January is usually when I read the least, so we will see how that goes. For sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah, that's my January TBR. It is chaos. I am excited for it. It's got a lot of fun rereads. It's got a lot of fun new reads. We are sticking on the horror train, apparently. But yeah, that is my TBR. If you have read any of these books, or want to read any of these books, or hated any of these books, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear about it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. I post videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays, except for the first full week of the month, wherein I only post my vlogs, because taking content breaks is important for your mental health. If you didn't enjoy this video, I'm sorry. Just kidding. Let me know how I can make it better for you, unless it's just me. In which case I understand. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, and do something today to take care of yourselves. Okay, thanks, bye.